very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makudi, Benue. Of the program for this month, our focus is on proposed electoral reforms by the National Assembly. Of course, the Senate last Thursday passed a bill seeking to empower the Independent National Electoral Commission to hold general elections in the country all in one day. The bill scaled through second reading after thorough debate, and there have been agitations from some senators and Nigerians that is the Independent Electoral Commission adequately prepared to conduct elections all in one day. And of course, other considerations have been ongoing. In the House of Representatives, they have also passed a bill calling for degree as a qualification for local government chairmen. And of course, the House of Representatives recently also considered a bill steering debate for the removal of immunity clause for governors, vice president, as well as deputy governors. Although they later rescinded the bill, said they have calling for more debate on it before it will be passed. All this pertains to electoral reforms that the National Assembly is pushing to as part of the ongoing constitutional amendment. That is why on this edition of the program, we shall interrogate the subject matter and see the extent to which this will contribute to improving our electoral process. I have been joined here in the studio by three seasoned analysts who are diverse, who are qualified with experience in different areas to drive this conversation. First is the former resident electoral commissioner in Kogi State. He is a political scientist, a former head of Department of Political Science at the Benue State University, Makudi. Professor James Apan is our guest on the program. Welcome to Perspectives, Prof.
Well, thank you, Nat, and good morning, listeners.
We also have joining us on this edition a former state lawmaker. He was a minority leader in the 9th and 10th Benue State House of Assembly. 8th and 9th, I beg your pardon, Benue State House of Assembly. And also a journalist, a former state chairman of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, NUJ Benue State Council. He represented Taka State Constituency during his time as a state legislature. Dr. Bem Mungutio. The last time you appeared on this program, you were yet to bag your doctorate. Recently, you defended successfully your doctorate degree at the Benue State University. Let me start by congratulating you and welcoming you to Perspectives, Dr. Mungutio.
Thank you very much, Nat. It's a pleasure.
Secretary of Benue State Labour Party, for joining us.
Thank you, Nat. Good morning, listeners.
My name is Nathaniel Nongo, welcoming you to this Monday edition of Perspectives. And if this is your first time tuning into the program, kindly be informed that Perspectives is audience participatory. And at 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to phone in to contribute on what we're discussing. The number through which you can reach us is 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, 0814-335-9292. You may also participate by sending an SMS to the number 0912-699-9404. The SMS line, once again, is 0912-699-9404. The line is also available on WhatsApp. And you may listen to us by logging onto our website on www.i, where our content is streaming. But let's remind you the views and opinions expressed by our panelists and callers on our Get Radio programs are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the editorial policy or views of this station. Stay with us. After this short breather, our conversation begins. Welcome back from that short break. And let me begin with you, Professor Apam. From the point of view of one who has served as an electoral umpire, walk us through the key challenges facing Nigeria's electoral system and how they can be addressed.
Good morning, listeners, once again. The challenges are not as concerns with work of INEC per se. The challenges are outside. The challenges are from the politicians who don't want the right thing to be done, who would want to win by all means. The INEC has its laws guiding its own work, its own conduct, and so it can't always do the work as it's supposed to be done. And I want to agree with those who think that the elections can be conducted all in one day. Actually, I agree that it saves cost. Doesn't only save cost, it also brings some measure of decency. Recently, a friend of mine witnessed elections in the U.S. I wouldn't want to call his name here. I don't think he would want his name called. But he witnessed elections in the U.S. And in the place where he witnessed elections in Texas, the voters voted on 62 issues, all in one day and at a go. Because in the U.S., they wouldn't only be voting for those who are going to the Congress or even the governor or even the local councillors. They will also be voting for judges. They vote for judges. And it's also like a referendum for them to vote on other key government policies, as regarding housing, the environment and things like that. And so all these are done in one day, and it's much tidier. Over time, we've had what we call the bandwagon effect, whereby you stagger elections, and then after the very first election, the party in power, it's always the party in power, wins, either because the candidate voted for didn't win, and then the party in power is also able to manipulate the rest of the process so that it wins everything. So I think it's much tidier if we have elections all in one day. It wouldn't only save the cost, it would also be much more decent to do that. The same thing could have been done in 2003. Oh, sorry, was it 2023? Yeah. When take, for example, in Lagos State, when the president lost his home state, elections could have all been hit on that one day, and the president would have had nothing but to live with another party ruling his own state, basically. And that would mean that the democracy is actually being shaped up. It will make it look tidier, because we don't only win because we belong to a major party. And in fact, a party like the Labour Party would have had up to 10 governors today if elections were conducted all on one day. So these are things we actually need to look. I'm happy that somebody is beginning to think that we actually can make this democracy look much more decent by thinking about an idea like that.
All right. Now, Dr. Mutio, let me have your thoughts. You are a former legislator. Do you think your colleagues in the National Assembly, especially in the Senate, are acting on addressing the concerns of our electoral system by seeking to have our elections conducted in one day, general election?
Well, thank you once again, Nat, for having me here. You agree with me that both the members of the House of Representatives and the senators are elected people. They were elected by various constituencies to represent them at the National Assembly. And basically, they listen to the hues and cries of their people, of their kith and kin, before they begin to deliberate over issues in the National Assembly. And you also know that our democracy is it's an evolving democracy, barely 26 years old now. So it is subject to changes. We embark on the change, and we see how it works, and then subject it to an attempt to perfect it the more. And where there are lapses in the system, it calls for innovations. You bring about change. So at every election, we vote, and then outside the voting, we look at the shortcomings in the process and seek to improve on them. I think that is basically what is happening here. When we came out of the last election, most of our people thought that this process can be better if we have all of our elections on one day. And they channeled all this through their representatives in the National Assembly, who basically make the laws. Okay? Except you have a law in place, you cannot implement anything. And basically, I think that is what the National Assembly is doing now. After the 2023 elections, how did it go? What can be done better to improve the system? Okay, that's why we always say that we should not condemn our democracy. It is pretty young. 26 years in the democratic process is still young. We are learning by the day. I'm sure by the time the National Assembly comes out finally with these laws concerning all our elections done in one day or so, we'll have a better system going forward. Okay, and just like the Prof said, if we subject these elections to be conducted on one day, I also believe that the system will be better off to a large extent. Like he mentioned, the issue of bandwagon effect, which is a huge challenge outside the costing. There's nothing wrong in organizing all these elections between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. You can do everything in one day and go through. You will save cost. Then you bring about decency and integrity in the process. If you have a government, a personality that is not wanted by the people, he maneuvers his way to win maybe presidency, and he gets into power. The next election, he will just exert all his negative influences on the people and bring people who were not wanted at all by his people into government. When you do that, you will stifle the voice of opposition when you have almost one-party state in government. You won't have a vibrant opposition. And democracy is better off when you have a solid opposition in place that keeps the government on its toes. So basically, the National Assembly is doing what it should do. They have just brought the cries of their people to play, the complaints of their constituents to play, and trying to enact laws that will perfect the electoral system we have in place now.
Very well. Now, Honorable Anja, you are a party leader, a party chieftain. When this bill is subjected to public hearing, what will be the position of people in the political space, key politicians like yourself?
Thank you very much, Nath. Good morning, listeners, once again. I think for us, it is the best thing to go with. It actually resonates because when the elections are held on different days, you discover that when a presidential candidate emerges as president-elect, other interests now set in, and the people, the voters, decide to go with the party that is going to occupy the center because they are afraid of victimization, given that the person who is going to be president may not favor them in terms of appointments, in terms of amenities, and all that. So they unwillingly decide to go with that party. You will see that at various instances, the presidential candidate of a party will have, let's say, if there's an election and he has about 110,000 votes in a particular state, after that election, that party will double these votes in that state. And that state never, ever supported that party above the 110,000 votes. But the people will be compelled to just go with the center because of victimization. So even the president-elect himself will be sending out messages to people, intimidating them that if they don't support the governorship candidate or the House of Assembly candidates in that particular state, he wouldn't look their way when he becomes president. He will take the people that have gone with his party first before coming to other citizens. So in most cases, some people develop a sense of apathy. They will not go and participate because they don't want to be conscripted into doing that. So I think we, the politicians, who are very practical in doing these things, we completely support the idea of holding our elections in one day.
Okay, maybe I should ask, will this remove the manipulations by political parties to get their candidates win at all costs if we have them have the general election all conducted in one day? Tell us, say.
Well, I don't know. You're talking about the primaries or you're talking about the candidates winning?
The general election itself.
Okay, general elections.
Yes.
Yes. Politicians would want to win at all costs. At all costs. And that has been our problem. Especially the people who are occupying these positions, the incumbents. They deploy all sorts of means to return back to power. But you cannot be everywhere at the same time. So, if these elections hold within one day, the person who is the presidential candidate will be battling with his own election, the governorship candidate will be battling with his own election, the National Assembly candidates will be battling with theirs, and the State Assembly candidates will also be battling with theirs. Because in an election, the people may want to elect a president, vote a different party for presidential, vote a different party for governorship. And even the legislators, they may want to vote differently. In the National Assembly, they may even vote a senatorial candidate in a particular party and vote for a House of Reps candidate, because everyone will face his own task.
All right. Now, Prof, let me come back to you. Let's look deeply into the benefits and drawback of having these elections, general elections, all in one day, as against the staggered practice we have had over time.
Well, the first thing we've talked about is the cost. Definitely the cost will also be reduced. You can imagine the huge sums of money that are going to conduct elections in this country. So that would also reduced. And like I've said, it also makes the whole thing look tidier. Just mobilize the ad hoc staff on the same day. We conduct the elections. We probably will just need maybe one or two more ad hoc staff. Since we're going to have everything in one day, and the work is going to be enormous. And then they will conduct the elections on that same day. Elections are announced. Just like what you said, start at 8 o'clock like you normally do. And then, of course, by 6 p.m. you're through with it. Even if it's going to take them into the night, at least that can still be done. And then you have everything announced, and that ends it. You end the manipulations, like Honorable just said. You were able to prevent bad organ effects. The results would actually truly reflect what the people's wishes are regarding those who get into power.
But with the benefit of hindsight, would you say INEC have got the logistics and manpower to deliver on this if eventually this is passed?
No, they can. They can actually do that. They can deliver. Just like I said, it was just a matter of perhaps getting one or two more ad hoc staff to add to that. And then preparing, even it means going to get some lightning in the polling units, because we'll work definitely if we want to sort out ballot papers and count them. For many elections, it's slightly going to take them longer than it's always been taking them. But that can be done, really. And then, like I'm insisting, it also saves the cost. It also makes the place much tidier and much more decent. It can't be done. Just they need them to prepare their minds and get the staff in place. They can do it.
Okay. Now, Dr. Mucho, talk to us from your point of view as you, of course, as you are still a politician.
Yes.
Weigh in on what the politicians make of the drawbacks and benefits of this staggered, one day election as against the staggered practice we have had.
I tell you, Nat, everybody on the street of Nigeria will want these elections to be held all in one day. But again, if you look at the government in power, whichever party that is in government will always want to fight it. You see, because politicians, Nigerian politicians being who they are, they want to perfect, improve on an evil, want to improve on evil. Most of them will be scheming, even though the National Assembly is working out to bring about a law that will enable elections to be done all in one day. There are some people behind the scene now who will be fighting, trying to oppose it, to counter it. Because they want to look at what happens on the first day. Did my party win or not? If my party didn't win in certain areas, they will want to go and strategize to perfect an evil to ensure that in the next election, my party wins. That is a problem. Won't be surprised even if after the National Assembly passes this bill in favor of what Nigerians want, the government in power can still go and attempt to circumvent it somehow, so that the elections will be staggered. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. While people are jumping and happy that the National Assembly is trying to help the system out, the government, on the other hand, may not want it that way, because they believe that it will not be in their favor. Otherwise, why don't we allow you to go to see through and attempt having all our elections in one day? I'm not sure since this democracy began we have had elections all in one day. But this is the first time. Why don't we give it a try and see? Okay? For now, like I'm hearing, what I'm hearing, if it is true, that the president, current president, wants to contest election for the second term. He also wants to allow his son contest election as governor in Lagos State. You know, if you allow the elections to be staggered, for instance, and he wins in the second term bid, and the governorship election comes after his own, he will use his powers to ensure that he installs his son as governor of Lagos State, even against the wishes of the people. But if you allow the elections to be held in one day, he'll be fighting for his own, and then allow his son to fight out his own cause. And let's see whether the people of Lagos will want the president as president and want his son as governor if elections are held in one day. It's just an example. I'm not saying that that's what is going to happen. But if what I'm hearing is true and that plays out, let's have the elections on one day and let the two of them test
the ground.
The ground, I see. The president will test, he will allow Nigerians assess whether within 4 years he has been able to meet their expectations to enable him get a second term, as against his son coming out for governor, against tested hands and experienced politicians in Lagos who are also vying for the seat. So there can be nothing better to happen to Nigeria than to allow these elections to be held all in one day, at least for the start. Let us try it and see, and compare it as against the system we have always had before.
All right. Now, Honorable Anja, testing the ground, I'm borrowing the concept of Dr. Ngujo. Will you politicians be willing to be allowed to test the ground in this way, and the end result will determine what truly is the action of the voters?
Yes, actually, Dr. Ngujo has almost said everything. Our democracy is still a young one, and we need to, as a matter of fact, experiment. It's through this experiment, as we experiment, we'll find a level ground, a stable position. If we don't try this or try the other thing, we may not be able to know which is better. During the Babangida days, back then, in that democracy, military democracy, there was this issue of option A4. If you wanted to be president, you go to your ward, you get nominated, then as the ward candidate, then you go to the local government. Other aspirants too will come to the local government. Then they will conduct primaries there. Then a candidate will emerge. Then you come to the state, the entire state. Then there will also be another election before you finally become. No, this was not the issue though. When you are elected from your local government, you're qualified to go for the national convention to go and contest from the ward to the local government and then to the state. Then you go for national convention to contest. This is how it was done. Now, they will start the elections by voting the councillors and chairmen first. Then they will vote the governors and members of the House of Assembly. Then they were to move on to the presidential election. And that was when Abiola was voted as a candidate of the SDP. We tried that, and it played out very, very well because there was no issue of bandwagon effect. In 1999, when we came into this democracy, Abdul Salam also did that. Then we now started experiencing this issue of beginning elections from the top, from the president down to the state level. It has never gone down well with us at all. The elect, Nigerians begin to move to that person. If you go to that person's abode, place of living, you see it's a small Mecca. People are there looking for favors and all that. So I think if in one day, a lot of things, encouraging his son to become a
example.
Yes,
For now,
of course,
there
it's
is
an
no
example.
confirmation.
It's an example.
Yes,
we are only speculating anyway.
yes.
Internal democracy will come to play because if I know that I'm going to run for an election and my son is going to run for a state election, I'm going to run for presidency, I know that the people will not be happy. And that will affect my chances of winning that state. Because if I force my son on these people to become a candidate, definitely I will not have good votes from that state. So I will just stay away. Although he's above 18, he can make his own decisions, but I also advise him that I'm running for this election, so my son, please just wait. When I finish from here, you can also run, so that I will have more votes and win the election. If elections are held in one day, if this particular election, 2027, the National Assembly members decide to pass it and it's adopted, definitely I know that that thing in Lagos, as we are speculating, may not even play out because the damaging effect will be much on the president. So conducting elections, all elections in one day is the best thing at this moment.
Well, all right, dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. We are discussing proposed electoral reforms by the National Assembly, and you can participate on the program later at 10 o'clock by phoning in on the number 0814-335-9292, 0814-335-9292. In the meantime, the SMS line is already available. You can send a text to it, 0912-699-9404, 0912-699-9404. Let's remind you again that the views and opinions of our guests and callers on the program are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the editorial policy of the station. Now, Professor Apa, I will just keep referring you to electoral issues coming from your background as a former resident electoral commissioner. Leading debate, I'm quoting the portion of the Senate debate on the leading debate on the electoral amendment bill, which is the one seeking the unsustainable cost of elections which according to him has ballooned from 1.5 billion naira in 1999 to 350 billion naira in 2023. Are you worried about the rise?
I'm worried. I think much more was even spent. I don't think even got a figure right.
Okay.
Much more must have been spent, and considering the fact that the naira has also increasingly fallen in value, and so the argument still remains that we need to have elections in one day, first to save the cost and as well as to make it decent. I've said it before, and of course, just like you said, I've been into the practice, so I know what is involved. You have normally you have about 6 ad hoc staff at every polling unit, and then you also have the supervisory presiding officers who go around to cover a number of polling units. Those funds can remain; they can still go around. That number would increase, but for the polling units, you probably will just have about 2 more ad hoc staff and add to those who are there. And then you're still not going to spend as much as you'd have spent if you're going to have them come for another round of election. And the interesting thing again is that sometimes you wouldn't even have many elections conducted in that same day. If, for example, you're not going to have a governorship election in the state for that at that time, then you can take that one out. Then you have only the presidential election, you have national assembly election, and then probably state assembly elections. Of course, local government is the same day, governorship election is the same day, House of Assembly. Just about how many? Just about 4 elections. So I can't see how the 4 elections cannot be conducted at the same time. And that finishes it. You save the cost, you save the time that would have gone, you save the other things that are involved, you've saved the so-called bandwagon effect, you have a tidy process in place. You just like my colleagues here are all politicians, so that you know what they're talking about. You also don't have people wanting to belong and then trying to vote for the party in power. Sometimes it's not even about voting in power. First, it starts from the voters having some apathy. Then they wouldn't want to go for the next round of election. That gives a room for the politicians to go and manipulate the process. After all, we have won. We're the ones who won at the national level. And so we should continue winning. It's actually very untidy when you have it that way. So the right thing to have is to have the elections in one day. Like I've pointed that in some cases you don't even have many elections to be held in that one day, just about 3 or 4. So I can't see how the electoral staff can't count ballots from about 4 or 5 elections in one day. I'll give you an example of what happens in America. Of course, in their own cases, the process is electronic, so it makes it easier. But what us have heard is that you can have as many as what the person went to in Texas. You had as many as 62 elections all in one day. Because in our case, you're not only voting the president, you're not only voting the governor in some cases, you're not also voting the members of Congress. You're also voting the judges. You're also doing a referendum on a number of issues. That's when the government also carries its own referendum. So people decide what they want. What kind of housing are you going to have in place? What kind of environment are you going to have in place? What kind of, all those policy issues are also voted for at that point. But then they do it. And so I can't see how we can have 5 or 6 ballot boxes placed in a place, and then people are able to vote, and then the counting can take place by the time elections stop at 12 noon. At 2 p.m. And then you cannot count up to, I say, around 6 p.m. In most cases, results come in late, not because elections have not been completed in good time, but because of the distances that people have to travel. And so another thing I can also do is to create more polling units, so people don't have to travel long distances. So you can rather have additional staff sent to additional polling units instead of people having to vote in, many people having to vote in certain polling units and then elections being completed lately. So this can be done.
All right. Another thing while Anja was speaking, he mentioned was starting the elections from the top. Why is it that INEC always chooses to start elections?
In most cases, it's not INEC that even chooses.
The government.
It's a government, yes.
Government.
It's not even.
No, it's a commission. Okay, meaning someone else dictates to them how they should.
I remember. I can't say exactly. There was a year that the government specifically said that elections start from the top, hoping that there would be a bandwagon effect. Sometimes, most of it is not even INEC that decides. Some other person decides somewhere. Of course, INEC would normally own up And they wouldn't say that another person decided, So it doesn't make a lot of sense. He talked about what happened during the Babangida days with the option A4. That's how they start elections from the grassroots.
Yes.
That's the right thing. So start from the House of Assembly and the governorship election. Even if you're going to stagger it, let it go up that way. That's when they show that whoever wins actually has some grassroots support.
Very well. Now, let me have your thoughts on this, because this is really a disturbing issue. Like Prof mentioned, if someone is telling the commission on how to conduct the election, then it means maybe the impartiality or the transparency of it is lacking.
Look, Nat, forget about this word independent National Electoral Commission. Forget about that first word, independent. They're not independent. They are not. The government determines how the elections are run. Forget about the INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission.
And that's a politician saying. That's a politician saying.
I'm a politician. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. I basically, Nigeria's INEC only acts the script of the government in power. That's why every government takes time to shop for a candidate that will do their bidding. Forget about all this, say that, oh no, they're looking for a very credible candidate, somebody of, impeccable character to come and head INEC. They are looking for people who will do their bidding. That is Nigeria for you. Government tells INEC, look, we want the elections to be held in this manner. You better choose it or let go the job. Nobody wants to be offered a position such as INEC boss and then you turn it down. No. All the assurance they give, no. They always want to do the bidding of government. So for Nigerian politics, that's what happens until tomorrow. That's why I'm saying that. And my prayer is that even when the National Assembly finally passes this law and is taken for assent, if it is in favor of holding elections on one day, let us pray that the president will give assent. Mm-hmm. Because I do know that sometimes between the process of final passage by the National Assembly to the assent, things happen on the way before it gets to the desk of the president. Let me give you an instance.
Yes.
In the past election, when Buhari was about exiting government, National Assembly passed a law concerning the delegates, number of delegates, who should constitute the delegates to vote for candidates at the primaries. Are you listening to me?
Very well.
So a category of people were allowed to go and vote as delegates during the primary election. That law was passed. Between that time and when the president gave assent, they changed some categories of delegates to remove. Even the president cannot vote as a delegate. The governor cannot vote as a delegate. National Assembly members cannot vote as delegates. Parties cannot vote as delegates. Can you imagine that? Meanwhile, in the law they passed, all of these categories of people formed delegates. The president will be a delegate, governors will be delegates, National Assembly members will be delegates. But after they passed it, when the law was taken to president for assent, all of these categories of people were expunged. And the president himself, with all his team, couldn't do due diligence to cross-check and see whether the actual law that was passed was the law he was going to assent. He didn't do all that. He just went down and just appended the signature on a different document. When the document was put in public domain, the president was not going to vote. National Assembly members could not vote. I was a state assembly member. I couldn't vote for a delegate in my party.
Yes.
It was so painful. That is Nigeria for you. That's why I'm saying that we have to pray. Now that we are clamoring that, yes, the elections, all of them should be conducted in one day. A similar thing can play itself out again. So I'm just praying and hoping that when this is done, the president will give accent to the actual law that was passed in the National Assembly. Otherwise,
this
it
delegate
will be a
example,
merry-go-round.
this delegate example you give, and stress that it was painful. Delegates go and come back with the primaries. They come back with huge dollars.
That is one. It's just one aspect. The aspect of choosing who they wanted is the one that makes it more painful. The aspect of choosing the candidate they want, and they were not allowed, is the most painful aspect I'm talking about.
Very well.
Let me just chip in here. I'm not talking about delegates first. Let me talk about the independence of the commission.
Okay.
It's interesting that Honorable mentioned that. The truth is that if the commission was truly independent, then the commission proposes Electoral Act, which is then sent. So it should be INEC talking about the order of elections and not the National Assembly in the first place.
Yes.
It's the INEC that should be saying, yeah, we can conduct elections only in one day, and then saying how they can go about doing that. It shouldn't even be the National Assembly talking about elections being conducted in one day, and then trying to set it into the Electoral Act, because that's eventually we have to go into the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act doesn't start from the National Assembly. It normally should start with INEC. INEC makes a proposal, which is then debated, and that's when you can bring in some clauses here and there. But then the INEC are the ones who are the experts, so they know exactly what is involved. And so they should be the one proposing the Electoral Act, that talking about elections being conducted in one, not even National Assembly. So if it was truly independent and doing his work, I'm sorry to be using those words because I was part of it. And so I just taking advantage of what Honorable Mucho, who is a politician, said about the true independence of the Electoral Commission and how it can do its work.
So flowing from that, this current bill, which has already scaled second reading in the Senate, is not a product of INEC. It's a senator who has sponsored this. So is that the right process? Do you see it coming to
That is what I'm saying is not the right process. This thing should be coming from the INEC. But of course, if the INEC doesn't think about doing it in one day, there is good National Assembly talking about it. Eventually, elections can be conducted in one day. What is unfortunate that it's coming from National Assembly rather than the INEC. But I also don't know how much they've consulted the INEC to say, okay, can you actually do this in one day? But again, like we've talked about since Monday, we've been talking about since 9 o'clock, it's not so much about the INEC also saying the INEC can then actually be asked to do this in one day, and then they have to find ways of doing it in one day, because I think it's possible to do it. That's why even those who propose the bill think it's possible to do it, and the INEC would then have to find a way of doing it in one day, and it's possible for it to be done in one day.
In addition to that,
yes,
let me just bring to your memory when this issue of local government elections came up. INEC was approached whether they could include local government elections alongside other elections, all to be done in one day. Mm. And INEC said they could do it. Mm-hmm. They could incorporate local government elections, state elections, and presidential elections, and conduct all of them in one day. Mm-hmm. But the only hindrance was that there was no backing from the National Assembly, no law to give them backing.
Yeah. I wouldn't actually want to talk about local elections, because I've never really stood for INEC conducting local elections, so I don't want to include that.
Much as we have some good, reasonable hands in INEC who will want the correct thing to be done, problem is whether the government in power will allow them to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody from INEC, okay, who visited his representative in the National Assembly and gave him the idea to move the motion. I will not be surprised, because INEC, remember, people in the INEC are also Nigerians.
That is possible.
They want the correct thing to be done in this country. They could approach a senator or his representative, please, why don't you move a motion in this regard? This will help us, those of us working in INEC. Because if it comes from INEC, the government will strangulate it. Government in power will strangulate it. But if it comes from the National Assembly, and you get your colleagues, you lobby your colleagues, okay, it will sail through, and perhaps it will see the light of day. So I won't be surprised if that is what is at play now. And if it goes all the whole hog, then we'll be happy for it.
All right. Now, Honorable Gwanja, let's look at the integrity of our elections, beginning from the process of the primaries by political parties. You are Secretary of Labour Party. Yes. Talk to us. how compromised or otherwise is this process? Beginning with the primaries in particular, do you actually field the candidates in the right format supervised by INEC?
Thank you very much. As far as I know, I started politics, active politics, in 1989, and since that time, I have never left. So, I think what we are practicing now is not a democracy. Because if you ask me right now who my counselor is, I don't know his name. I don't know the name of the other one that left before this one came. Until you are able to elect your counselor, hold him accountable, you are my counselor. So the system is not allowing democracy to play. Because when you don't want the local government system to function, it means you want to be extremely powerful. And as such, we are not learning anything. We have, for 1999 to date is 26 years, right?
Yes, yes.
What is the improvement? What kind of improvement do we have to show? Of course, the 1999 elections held by the military were more credible than all these elections we are holding now. For 26 years, we are not able to be at par with that military election that was conducted. So what are we doing? I know that in 1999, I elected my councillor, and since after that, I have never been able to elect my councillor. So what kind of democracy? So, if the system is like that, it gives room for manipulation. People now sit in their comfort zones, send for their in-laws to come and be candidates of election. They send for their friends who are not here. Even the party exco is not able to function because you are instructed. You want to be a member of a candidate for House of Assembly election. You are going to look for nomination in Makurdi. Why are you going there? When the people who are supposed to nominate you are in the local government or in that constituency. Some local governments have 2 constituencies. So you want to become a candidate in one of the constituencies. You are going to Makurdi to serve the governor so that in the end, the governor pronounces you as candidate of that constituency. What kind of democracy is that? Then you begin to send for your in-laws to come and you put them in various constituencies to be candidates. That's what we are seeing.
But in the overall, you party, somehow, let me not call the chieftain, you party leaders superintend over
Look, Nat.
You are the people
Look,
in charge of the process of
let me tell you.
candidates.
Let me tell you.
At what point did you start getting
Let
it
me
wrong?
tell you. Let me tell you. I wouldn't even want to allow you finish that. We are mere party officials. The people that have the resources are the people determining what goes on there. Because if you are a governor, until now, until 1999, I've come to understand that if you are a governor, you are a leader of a party. What sort of rubbish? How can a governor be a leader of a party? Because you can decide to become governor, serve your people, and leave, and go back to wherever you came from.
Exactly.
You've contributed, and you have gone. There are people who are domiciled in politics. They started laying the foundation for that particular party. So, the leadership should be enduring. If you say somebody is governor today and he should be a leader of a party, this party is 50 years old. How many leaders have the party, has the party gotten? Do you understand? You are a governor one term, you become a leader of a party for 4 years. When you move, you begin to insist that you still want to be leader. The incumbent says, no, this is the tradition. He wants to be leader. That's the fight. That's where there's no internal democracy. The people who have won elections feel that they will run the parties. I mean, it's absurd. I don't understand.
All right.
They were not there from time when these political parties were formed. They do not have any history about these political parties. They don't know where they started funding these political parties from. And they have grown up to the level that they have come to run for elections and win. But they want to seize leadership. They want to own the party at that particular time and bring, okay, you talk about vision, mission, manifesto of a party. Ask some sitting governors, some members of House of Reps, what is the manifesto of their party? They don't know anything about it. Some have never even seen a copy. That is what we are going through in this country. And you call that democracy? These people are qualified to come and sit in front and decide about what goes on in the room. It's totally wrong because the people are blind. They don't know anything, the vision of the founders of that party. They don't know. So, internal democracy cannot succeed if we continue like this.
All right. Dr. Muja,
Yes.
how do we restore internal democracy in the political parties, especially to get the right process of selecting or electing candidates at the primaries as to feature?
Well, I just want to take a cue from what my colleague here said. Allow the people choose who they want. That is what democracy is even all about. And that's why they say it's the government of the people, for the people, by the people. We have to begin at that level. But you know, the governors who are today leaders in quote of various parties, leaders in quote, that is what even is bringing about crisis in virtually all the parties today. Somebody who comes from wherever, the moment he becomes governor, with the help of politicians, wants to be called a leader. So he goes down to the local government to choose who he wants to be a councillor. A governor who comes from Goma, for instance, we want to go and choose a councillor in Agatu. Why? Because the leader of the party.
Because it's his houseboy.
His houseboy.
He has been his
Or
houseboy.
he has been his friend. Whatever. That cannot be democracy. I have always said in this studio, on other stations, that the problem of Nigeria today is the governors. Nigerian Governors Forum. They constitute bulk of the problem, Nigeria's problem today. And it's a very powerful body. Sometimes even the president is afraid of that body. He circumvent most of his policies he wants to embark upon in the country. Otherwise, how will the governor, for instance, because you are governor, you go and choose a councillor in far away Agatu, you are from Goma. You want to choose a local government chairman in Zone C when you are in Zone B. Why don't you allow the people in that area to choose the people they want because they know them? That is democracy. You want to be a councillor, everybody within that community knows you. Are you capable? Can this man deliver? Can he give us effective representation? If the answer is in the affirmative, they will vote for you to go and represent them as councillor. But sometimes, even when that is done, and the list comes to the headquarters, names are changed. Okay? Names are changed. Why? Because this man was my driver before. This man was my errand boy before. And then you circumvent the process. That cannot be democracy. So true democracy involves allowing the people at the grassroots to participate in choosing who they want. So if we allow that to grow at that level, from the local government to the councillor, to the House of Assembly, to the House of Reps, to the Senate, to governors, I believe then we can beat our chest and say we are practicing true democracy. But whereby Everything stops at the table. The box stops at the table, in front of the governor. That cannot be democracy. Allow people to choose the people that they want, and not ascribe to yourself power that look, because I'm the leader of the party, whatever I want holds sway. That cannot be democracy. That's dictatorship in disguise. So
well, I think in addition to what the Honorable said, much more fundamentally, the parties need to have through membership. Let it have through membership, and let the members pay dues. Parties would actually have through roles of people who belong to the party, and let them also be due paying members. And that allows them to take control of the party. So once the people have the control of the party, then it becomes difficult for some other person to come and manipulate them, decide who becomes a party ESCO, or decides who becomes the candidate of a party for any election. So that's one thing in addition to what they've said. That's what we even started.
I want to also contribute.
Okay, briefly, because we are due to start engaging with
what Prof has said about the dues. The dues may not even make any impact in a council ward. How much are you going to collect? Because the governor is going to send money 4 times or 5 times more than that dues. So the only thing that we need to pray for is to have an electoral system that will make the local governments function. The councillor should get duly elected by the constituents. Once that is done, and the people have the power to vote out that councillor, you will see things will begin to fall in shape. Because a local government chairman who is getting his own funds in his own local government may not allow the governor that overbearing attitude into the local government area politically, undue influence. I think if there's local government autonomy and if there's an effective local government electoral system, or a system that can see an election of a local government council perfectly.
All right, we'll take a short break, dear listener. Once we are back, we'll start engaging with you. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. Thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining us, you've been listening to Perspectives on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. We are discussing electoral reforms proposed by the National Assembly in line with the bill which has scared second reading, mandating the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct all elections in one day. That is the basis of our discussion on sundry issues on elections. You can phone in on the number 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we would like to know your full name and where you are calling from. Then you make your submission. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives. Hello. Good morning.
Radio this morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, may we know your name and where you're calling from?
I am Peter Obeche, calling from behind OCBN layout.
Good to have you join us, Peter Ogbeche.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate our discussion this morning. The topic of discussion is a very interesting one. It was a great benefit to all Nigerians. First, I want to support one of the discussants who asserted that the problem we have with our politicians, the political will to do the right thing. We are discussing electoral reform bill as to conduct election or the whole election in one day. You see, it's only in Nigeria that all ingredients, elements are heard when election is conducted. They will tell you the election is credible, transparent, free and fair, where these elements did not exist. If the proposed electoral reform bill will bring about transparency in the has something to do with constitutional amendment. Which constitution are we amending? Constitution that was imposed to us by the military. At 65 years, Nigeria is talking of amending constitution. Where is the political will? I think I want to advocate that we should have a complete new constitution. Because the way things are going in this country, corruption has taken over the whole affairs. Our leadership is very corrupt. Our leaders are very corrupt. If there is a new constitution, at least corruption will be minimized. That is my contribution.
Okay, Ogbeche, but do you support the clamor for the conduct of general elections all in one day?
100%, 100%, 100%. If it will bring about transparency, free and fair, credible election, I am okay.
Thank you, Ogbeche, Peter, for
calling.
Thank
you very much.
All
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ogbeche wants a new constitution, or well, the process for amending the constitution is also ongoing, so maybe it will bring in those new things you desire. Good morning, and thank you for joining Perspectives.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, Nat and the guests in the house.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we missed you, Nat, for some time.
I'm here.
So you went on break.
Welcome. Please go ahead. Let's know your name.
Okay, I'm Brother Emeka calling from Welfare Quarters.
Thank you. Go ahead, Emeka.
Okay, to me, the idea is a laudable idea, which the guests in the house has given us the merits and the demerits. And one of the prime purpose is to for us to avoid this bandwagon effect, so that people will make their choice that is truly their choice. But to me, in Nigeria, it's going to be a logistical nightmare, in the sense that I don't think we have the manpower and the technology to handle all elections in one day. Are you hearing me?
Very well.
So that one day, like November 5th this year, was the final day. In some states, they start 2 weeks or even 1 month, what they call early voting, and they have what they call mail-in ballots, so that people can vote at the comfort of at their own pace. That one day is the day everything is done, and then the result tabulated and then announced. So if we want to do it one day per se, I think we should adopt that method rather, because if everything should be done in one day, to me, it will create a lot of confusion in the system that might even aid and abet rigging and what you are trying to avoid behind our elected members. I don't know whether he was able to do that when he was in the office, or he's just being truthful now, because if a common man had said some of the things he's saying, he would have called us conspiracy theories and all that. So lastly, to be on a lighter mood, to me, election in Nigeria, to me, is just a window dressing. Left for me,
the godfathers should go and gather their delegates and vote. Because after the election, the people we quote and unquote vote for, who are allegiance to the godfathers, look at what is happening in River State.
Emeka, thank you. Let's end
so
it on
let
that
the godfathers do the voting and leave us alone, so that when they fight, you will know that yes, we are not involved. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate you for calling in. Yes, Prof. Let's engage the reactions later because we still have more of the course waiting on the line. Okay. We'll come back to that. Just note them. We'll note them once we start engaging with them. We'll respond accordingly. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Hello. Good morning. Oh, you are on, but quite unfortunate. Your voice is not coming through, I'm afraid. But the line is available. Hello, good morning. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
My name is Patrick Morden.
Patrick Morden, thank you for joining us. Where are you reaching us from?
I'm reaching out from Akodi,
okay.
New Layout.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to thank you for bringing up this topic.
Thank you, sir.
I wouldn't say much, but I want to say this about leadership in political parties and governance. By 1999, leadership in party politics was not vested in governors or the president. Party chairmen at local government, ward level, state level, and the national chairman of political parties were leaders of party. So we had peace and things were going on fine. Whoever brought this idea that a governor should be the leader of a party in the state had killed democracy in this country. If we want to get back to the original way of doing things, we should revert that. Remove governors as leaders of political parties and let chairmen be leaders of political party.
Okay.
I think that will really help us.
All right. So very well. Now let's have your comments on the reforms, the electoral reforms, apart from the party leadership you mentioned.
I totally want to agree that elections can be held in one day. I agree with that. And that will solve a lot of problems. I think that's my view. I totally agree with that.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick Morden, for calling in.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Okay. Remove governors as leaders of political parties. The elections will be held in one day. That's Patrick, his opinion. The line is still available, 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to the program. Hello. Good morning. Oh, the network seems to be getting unfriendly, but we're here to try as much as we can to engage with you, the listener. The SMS line is also available, 0912-699-9404. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel.
Good morning, sir.
My regard to the guest in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this topic is very, very interesting.
Thank you.
For me,
yes, let's know your name before you go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm Moses Anu from Anu village in Makodi.
Good, Moses Anu.
Yeah.
Which part of Makodi, by the way?
Behind Akusa.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, I'm 100% in support of the election, doing organizing the election in one day. But again, I am looking at it that maybe the Nigeria democracy is very young to do that, because, for instance, you see, INEC will conduct an election in one state, just one state, and they will be telling us inconclusive. Just one state. So, joining the whole election on one day, for now, Nigeria is not up to that task for now. That's my contribution.
Okay, but Moses, let me get you correctly. In one breath, you support it, but in another, you say Nigeria is not right for it. So,
yes, Mr. Nathan, I support it, but I'm still at it that for now we can't do that. For now we can't.
Okay.
Because just a state and the INEC will conduct election and they will tell us inconclusive.
So what do you
So I don't.
suggest?
Okay. Anyway, that's okay. That's your opinion. We have a former INEC person here. Maybe he will tell us
It's okay.
what logistics to be addressed for us to get to where you want us to.
It's okay. I'll come.
Thank you, Moses, for calling in. Yes. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you are on.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Mr. Achimi Obuche, calling from Modern Market.
All right. Good to have you join us, Achimi.
Thank you very much. My greetings to the guests in the studio there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Actually, the Electoral Act bill, which is currently going on in the Senate, is a welcome development. If they can make the whole election to take place one day, I think it will reduce cost of conducting election, and human interference too will be reduced. And secondly, I will appeal, if it will be possible, they should also amend the act so that electronic voting will be adopted in this country. Because if you watch out what happened in Ghana the other time, before the final announcement of the election results, the loser have conceded that he has lost the election. Why? Because they have access to all the election, all the vote that is coming in. So no need of telling anybody that I won the election, I was string out, or this and that. So it will be good too that electronic voting should be included in the Electoral Act, so that from your comfort zone you can vote without facing issue of ballot snatching or thuggery on the election day. Lastly, my fear is that I don't want to be optimistic. I want to be pessimistic, because if at the end of the day that bill is being passed, I doubt that the president will sign it into law, because the current system now favors the ruling class. And like what one of the analysts said the other time, that a situation whereby the president will be contesting and his son too will be contesting as a governor in Lagos. It is an example.
Why do you choose an example that must have to do with the president's son contesting?
That is why that amendment may not see the light of the day, because they would like to capitalize on the loophole to continue ruling us.
Achimi, thank you for calling in. We appreciate you. Thanks so much for your opinion. All right, we'll have to let you go to allow the engagements as well. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is also available, 0912-699-9404. Hello, good morning. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Oh, the network is one of the problems the Senate should also do a bill on, because 0814-335-9292. We're here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
You speak with Utwa Isaac from Goma. Thank you, man.
Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Simply, I put that
Hello, Isaac.
the electoral reform should simply, I put that the electoral reform should for our.
Hello, Isaac. Your network seems very unstable. Oh, Isaac, I'm afraid we may have to disconnect with you. The network wouldn't allow us get to hear you, but we are here. try to call back if you can. The line is still available and you are able to connect with us, that's fine. Otherwise, send us an SMS 091269999404. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning and thank you for joining us. Hello. Hello, good morning. Oh, part of the network challenge we keep having. Quite unfortunate, but we're here. 0814-335-9292. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay. If you're not able to connect to the call line, sometimes it's easier to send an SMS to get through to us. Now, let's stay on the calls temporarily. Okay. Let's try again. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay. We'll continue to do our best to see the engagement as it goes. It does appear there seems to be a network glitch. Good morning. 081 SMS line is also available. 0912-699-9904. Hello, good morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, guests in the house.
Thank you.
Good morning.
My pleasure anchoring this program this morning.
Thank you. You have taken over the anchor from me. Okay, different. Go ahead.
You see, election reform, you see, the way that democracy have come to stay in our country, but let those National Assembly make laws that will favor not the only political class. Most people who are coming or who are buying from election position, who are not in politics, let the thing favor them. Most of the time, when you contest for election, you'll be hearing of they did not capture you in biometry, your name is being omitted. But I wonder why INEC always have problem of that. To me, let them make laws so that we favor everybody, and let them, the party chairman of any state of the political party, to have a superior power. Even the city governor should not be having power like the party chairman. Most of the time, the governor have power more than the party chairman.
Oh.
So this thing has been costing a lot. I'm hearing.
So you want the party chairman to be more powerful than the governors?
No, this is a political arena. So the party chairman has to have his own power, has to have his own veto power.
On the structure.
Some cases now is the governor that is the leader of the political party or the leader of the thing, which is not done like that. Then too, they are under the party chairman. So let them make law that will be assumed by all citizens. I think by that we have a better nation.
All right, thank you, Tifa. I do not really understand what Tifa means by making the party chairman more powerful, because as it is, these people are also powerful in their own right. But that's okay. It's your opinion. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning to my teacher, Professor Bam, who taught us GST nationalism long time ago.
It's not only your teacher that is here.
Thank you.
And then I'm greeting now. Hold on. And then to your esteemed guest.
Okay, let's know your name.
You're always fast now. My name is Fiasi.
All right. Good.
I am calling from my own layout here.
All right, go ahead.
Actually, in this world of politics, you have dive us so much into areas I almost got clarification. But on the sideline, I want to ask a question to the honorable who started democracy in 1989.
Yes.
No, he didn't say he started democracy.
He said the background. I'm coming from his background.
Fiasi, let's get it clear. He said he started active partisan politics.
Okay, sorry. I wanted to say active politics because democracy started in 1999. That's why I push it like that.
You're making it look like he's the founder of democracy in Nigeria.
Of course, he might be one.
Okay, don't go.
Yes, he said that the powers of the parties were with the local government in schools, isn't it?
At that level.
At that level, yes.
At that level, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
go
now
on.
you said suddenly the powers the governors, anytime the governor is elected, he becomes the leader of the party. So now at this point, who gave the powers of the party to the governors? Because I am thinking, I just want to still add that this is coming at the point where powers, the governors were made the chief security officers, and then more monies were given to them by the military government to avert topping of their government. So is that the position?
Well, I
No, let him conclude. We'll address this question. Now, could that be all from you, Fiase?
Yeah, no, I still want to add that
Conclude your
in
thoughts.
terms of it,
Yes.
Prof has given me a good background in nationalism. That is why I'm asking question now.
Yes. So
to add to
conclude.
that,
Yes.
Yes, conducting elections in Nigeria for one day will be very, very possible, but only on the part of the ICT, because these gadgets are tested, they are programmed, and even if it's one off-cycle election, you see the challenge with the internet. I am thinking that that sector should wake up to brace, and that sector should wake up to give a good quality networking system. If possible, an election will be conducted by one day in Nigeria.
Okay.
It is a welcome development.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you,
Fiase.
sir.
Thank you for calling in. We'll address your question. Now, Prof, we'll start with you, the issues many of the callers raised about INEC. This is somehow, if you are sampling the opinions of people on this program, you will see that at least 10% of those who called in supported the move. But they are worried about INEC having the logistics capacity to handle this. You have been there.
It is left for INEC to improve. Once a challenge to do it. I've just said it repeatedly.
Yes.
If you're going to have presidential election as well as National Assembly, you're talking about two ballot papers. You give one ballot paper for presidential election, another one for National Assembly. Now, if you're going to add governorship and national and state assembly, that's 4 ballot papers.
5 actually.
5?
Senate, House of Reps.
Okay, that's fine. So 5. Thank you. So it's not out of place to have people vote for 5 elections in one day.
Even 7.
Even 7.
Local government.
Yes,
No, I'm not talking about local government. I don't agree. Local government, of course, I've never agreed that local governments should be part of INEC elections. That one, I'm a federalist, so I don't agree with that one. But let's talk about this 5.
Yeah.
And so it's not out of place to have 5 ballot papers given to somebody to go and vote. That can be done in no time. The counting too, of course, would then take slightly longer than if we were going to have only 2 elections. But that can be done in one day. That can be done in one day. The issues about logistics is not, like I've said before, it's not so much about the number of elections. It's about people traveling long distances to come and submit results. That's why it takes a long time. But this can be done in one day. And even if they have to travel by the night, that's fine. They will always travel by night anyway. So it can be done. Once we agree like that helps reduce costs as well as tidies up the process, that can be done. And somebody talked about the America doesn't vote in one day.
Yes.
Even if they don't vote in one day, I agree. The early voting as well as mailing boxes, but the counting is done in one day.
Even the person who is going to votes all in one day.
In one day.
And he doesn't go there.
So it doesn't matter. So it's the same one day. And even the counting is done in one day. I agree they haven't gotten the technology for us to do it like it. But then considering what we have even now, it can still be done in one day. And then also I agree with those who said we should also improve system, bring in more technology so that we can. That's fine.
And you listened to one of the callers who also stated that sometimes even in one state election is done and they still arrive at an inconclusive.
What leads to the inconclusive?
Are we going to be having an inconclusive national election?
No. What leads to the inconclusion?
Yes.
I don't know. What leads to? There's no single reason that leads to inconclusion. And then whatever they say in conclusion, I don't know what that means. Elections can still be done in one day, and then everything counted. And then the inconclusion, of course, is part of the manipulation. Yes.
Okay, it's part of the manipulation. On the part of INEC or who?
It could also be part of the INEC, yes. No doubt that INEC people are also complicit in this mess that we have. They are, of course, INEC staff are also complicit. To a large extent, they are also complicit.
I think you are being fiercely truthful if you admit that INEC is complicit.
Yeah, they're also the staff. The ad hoc staff sent out, they're also complicit in the mess that we normally have as elections. No doubt about that.
Okay.
I remember in my state, the youth member was given 50,000 naira to, of course, help the process. I don't know where. I can't remember where. And then when she came to submit the results to the coalition officer at the world level, who was a university lecturer from somewhere, she said she was given this money and handed the money over to the coalition officer, who brought the money all the way up to the headquarters. That's what the copper reported. And so that tells you what goes on even at the polling units. And then the fact that this lady chose not to be part of the corrupt process, and then she brought the money all the way back. Of course, I don't know what happened. We didn't have to go asking whether she did what the people wanted or not. But then it wasn't only about her, so we can't say anything. But I'm just giving you an example. Maybe I shouldn't have said this, but I'm saying it now because there are still Nigerians out there who are still true to their conscience. I wouldn't want anything awkward to be done. And so she did that. And of course, the money was brought there. And then we collected, as was reported, we collected it. Just as an example of the fact that there was an attempt to manipulate somebody somewhere. That's just one of the things.
It could have been an exhibit, or maybe if INEP was to defend anyway in court.
And that same result was still taken anyway. It was only from one polling unit.
Okay.
And so just part of the entire result of the council world. And so you couldn't single out any result. And the fact that she given money and collected does not mean the right thing was not done. But of course, that's what somebody attempted to do right at the beginning, not minding whether he or she was going to win that place or not. But the point I'm making really is that, of course, the ad hoc staff are also complicit in what goes on. No doubt about that, from the manipulations of the politicians.
All right. Okay, now, Honorable Anja, you listened to Fiase Mutun. He asked a question of the leadership of political parties having to do with the governors as well as the leadership structure in general. You listen to him. Point going over his question. So talk to.
I think basically the 1999 Constitution has created a lot of problems for us. I think the Yadudu made that Constitution, it was okay. People are only trying to manipulate it, to interpret it in ways they want. Because when we were young, the local governments were autonomous. They had the resources. They provided the logistics for whichever things that were to be done at that level. And at that level, people were responsible. The party executives at the ward were very responsible. When the time came, they produced credible candidates for councillorship because there was going to be an election. And these councillorship candidates were accountable to the party. The party will usually come together and nominate someone. Then, coming to the local government level, he who is going to be the chairman will also be nominated by the persons who have come from various wards. So, when you become the chairman and you become the councillor, you'll be looking at the roles various people played from the grassroots to put you there. And you know that you are accountable to these people because you are still going to go back to them. This thing happened up to 1999. In 2003, after the first set of local government elected councils, the state governors now hijacked the electoral system and started appointing caretaker committees, their surrogates, started nominating people who will be chairmen in local governments and councillors who will be councillors in wards other than even theirs of origin. So this is where a councillor who is related to a governor could go back to a local government and tell a party chairman that he's nothing. Because as he's leaving you there, he's going straight to meet the governor. And he'll tell the governor that this is what you're doing, and the governor will fund so that he's removed. So that in 2003, the collapse of the powers of party structure set in. The governors became very powerful because of the lacuna in the constitution. They now started appointing, because let me tell you, the local governments have a lot of resources. If you put a local government council chairman elected by the people and protected by the constitution, that governor who is here will not go to control the structure of the party at the local government level. The chairman, if there are two local governments, it's the same. It transcends down to that level. Two local government council chairmen who belong to a constituency that have a House of Reps seat will come together like that and produce that House of Reps member without the consent of the governor, if they are autonomous. So the whole thing here is local government autonomy. Once there's no local government autonomy, there can't be. The parties cannot be controlled by the people. The people will not be in charge.
Okay.
The governors feel that once a governor here at one point said that, how will you have 23 state governors in Benue? One governor, one sitting governor said that here, because he knows that if you make this chairman autonomous, he will not have control over the party structure again, because that chairman will be bringing his own local government, the other chairman will be bringing his own local government, and they will say what they want concerning the party structure.
All right. Well, it's getting more interesting. And Dr. Ngudjo, I am with you. Now, let's look at the local government issue. Would have formed another entire discussion, but since we are touching on it briefly, let's also look at it. Part of another bill still in the House of Representatives this time is to allow local government chairmen the qualification for contesting that office to be degree holder. The bill is sponsored by Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu, and it has also passed second reading for local government to have a minimum chairman to have a minimum qualification of first degree. Is that a priority in the contest for local government elections now? The local government autonomy that has been granted, to what extent has it been implemented that the priority now should be about qualification?
In agreeing with what Anja said, it is pertinent that we seek to grant local government autonomy. I think that is more crucial than talking about the qualification as a yardstick. No, we have always maintained that democracy is about the people. About the people. And more than 3/4 of the people today reside in local government areas. You know? So if you don't give the local government adequate funding, you are strangulating democracy.
Completely.
When there is no funds at the local government area, how do you curtail the issues that border around security, insurgency? At any uprising in the local government, the leaders of local government council will have to run cap in hand to the bureau asking for approvals of 300,000, 500,000 to go and curtail an uprising back home.
It's not certain.
You know, except we give autonomy to local government, the system was strangulated. I remember in 2003, at that time I was heading the NUJ. The local governments were completely autonomous. democracy was at its best in Benue State. And that was under Governor George Akume. Local government chairmen, because of the autonomy they had, they were funding projects. In my own local government, for instance, Taka, which has one of the biggest secretariats of a local government in the whole country, was constructed by a local government chairman because of the autonomy. Councillors were building culverts and bridges in their localities because of the autonomy of the local government system. After that, because I don't know whether you call it innovations or whatever, the system began to change. Okay? And with the emergence of caretaker committees, sole administrators, and all that, they have bastardized the system. I think that is what we need now, other than talking about qualification, basic qualification as a degree. If you go to university and obtain a degree, so what? We have people who are as intelligent as anything without going to university. We just put for the minimum qualification of Form 5, secondary school. Yes. They have the intelligence, they have the integrity, and they can hold the system together. Experience and exposure. They can hold the system. We have people who have gone to university today, obtained degree, they cannot construct a sentence. Can't write anything. Is that what you are clamoring for? I think that bill should not even see the light of day, if you ask me.
Of course.
If you ask me. We have some people in the National Assembly, from the North in particular, who have obtained just primary 7 certificates.
Yes.
But if you listen to their level of intelligence, you'll be amazed. It's upside down.
Yes.
But in the end, if you listen to the meaning that was encapsulated in the sentences he made, in the contribution, it was appalling. So I think with Nigeria, we forget about all these caricature bills of giving qualification degree, university degree. What is university degree in Nigeria today?
No, rubbish.
Ask a degree holder today to just write an application letter.
Go and do online degree and
for appointment.
Online degree.
The professor is here. He teaches every day in the university. He will tell you his own experience.
Anyway,
so I think
you just got one of the highest degrees, so I don't think you should be rubbish in the system,
my friend. He's been in the system for quite a while, So I think we should jettison that and concentrate on the local government autonomy. That member, that Benjamin Kalu you're talking about, he should have focused his energies on granting autonomy that we have enshrined in the Constitution. They cannot even implement it. In all the alterations that have been made, giving the local government financial autonomy, it cannot be implemented up to today with all the Supreme Court ruling in favor of local government autonomy. Why is it not implemented? Nigeria is a peculiar state, I'm sorry to say. Peculiar. And that's why I always insist. Somebody just said that I'm always exposing government. He wonders whether when I was in the system, I was doing that. Yes, I was doing it. Once something is against the laws, the grand norm of the country, you are going against it. How do we move forward? And we all know that the local government is the bedrock of everything in this country, particularly democracy. It has to start at the local government. I told you, look at the population of people who live in urban areas as against people who live in the rural areas. So why don't we bring out projects or make policies that will benefit them? That's why I keep maintaining that except you hold governors accountable, governors will remain the problem of democracy in this country. That's why Obasanjo said Nigeria's problem today is governors forum. Like I said it before, and I'll continue to say. So until we're able to divulge these powers from them, then we can have a system going.
Okay, we're fast running out of time. We'll engage with a few more persons and then we'll try to draw a concluding thoughts. Hello, good morning. Oh, we lost connection with you already, but the line is available, 0814-335-9292. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Hello. Good morning. Oh, you're on, but your voice is not coming through. Quite unfortunate. Let's take some messages. Simply put, the electoral reforms should pave the way for our right to vote and be voted for while supporting INEC with materials for election to be credible, whether in one day or days after election. Good morning, panel. Isaac Utsua from Sejima Ingoma. Okay, Isaac, thank you. your message is somehow better. Good morning, presenter, with your guest. I am in support of this amendment, but my worry is that given the kind of democracy we are practicing, the politicians we have, and our type of INEC, will INEC not wake up on election day after spending billions or the elections in one day due to logistics problems?
Still possible.
Our democracy needs to breathe. Joe Kennedy from International Market in Makudi. Joe Kennedy, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Nathaniel, and all the guests in the studio. If INEC cannot conduct and conclude only governorship elections in one day, how much more for elections? Please, let's not start what we cannot finish. Vincent Akko from Wadata. Vincent, thank you. This one says, all elections in one day is actually the best thing to do, but transporting electoral materials to polling units sometimes take half of the day, like Adikbo to Jatoakais and ask Johnny Jonengi. Excellence from Makudi. Okay, Jonengi, thank you. Good morning, Nathaniel, and your guest in the house. I am Khan T. Michael from Gadovilla. I have agreed wholeheartedly with Nigeria's elections being conducted on same day. It will reduce costs, have different political parties also win some offices for a viable opposition. Victimization that be to see the light of day should be done for the good of Nigeria. Nigeria's democracy. Thank you. Okay. Kamti, thank you very much for your participation. Appreciate your message. Okay, we do not have time, but just a few more engagement. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Presenter.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning to your guests in the studio. My name is Mr. Emmanuel Abba. I'm calling from Water along Lafia Road.
Okay, good to have you join us, Emmanuel Abba.
Thank you very much. So, well, talking about holding election, general election Monday, I think Nigeria and our government still develop. Looking at the issues that usually come up on election day, lack of early arrival of materials, voting into night, you know, our terrain to the hinterland, the road to hinterland very bad. You know, we are not yet right to increase the number of elections to be held in one day, because as it is now, we are only managing the system. So there are many things that has to be put in.
Hello, Mr. Abba. Okay, Mr. Abba, thank you. I'm afraid we may have to disconnect your own, but the network seems a bit unstable. And that's the last call we will accommodate on today's edition because our time is no longer there. Now, Prof, also part of this discussion, which will wrap up, you have maintained that you are a federalist and you will not want INEC to dabble into local government elections. You stated that position on this program previously too.
Yeah.
But there is also a bill in the House of Representatives for the establishment of a separate commission to be saddled with the responsibility of conducting local government elections.
That is diversionary. It doesn't help anything. We've talked about so many things here today, and so those who are worried about this country should think about how things can work as they should be. If Nigeria is a federal country, you cannot say INEC should conduct elections or a national commission should conduct elections. Let's stick to our federal practice. If we're going to have INEC do things right, then of course we should also get state electoral commissions to do the same thing right. That's what we should be thinking about. So I'm never in support of a body created whatever to conduct elections. I think these things are we keep running away from our problems and hoping that they can be solved.
Okay, and to give you a parting word on something, which is the removal of immunity clause for the vice president, governors, and bill that was rescinded, that there was no robust debate on it.
So that's also their business. I don't think how that helps anything. Whether you remove immunity from a governor still has immunity. What is the problem is the governor's conduct. And the fact that you keep the governor's immunity intact does not mean that they cannot work well if they want to. And so some of those things amount to personality clashes between the political office holders. All of a sudden, the member of the National Assembly from a state is worried that the governor, who doesn't support him or her, has immunity. I think this is what this whole thing amounts to. So to me, and any other person, it's not an issue so much about whether governor has immunity. Of course, there should be some immunity, definitely.
All right.
At least to an executive member of the executive arm of government at a certain point on some issues. Why stay in office? Definitely there has to be.
Dr. Beningotio, you have consistently maintained that governors are the problem.
Yes.
I'm quoting you.
Yes.
You have maintained. So tell us, should they have immunity protecting them or the removal of it?
The idea of governors' immunity came about because of allowing them to concentrate in governance, okay, and not having to have issues with litigations after elections. They should concentrate on good governance, delivering democratic dividends to their people. He will tell you that the first 2 years I was going to for court cases, I couldn't embark on serious projects and all that. I think that is why the idea of the immunity for governors came about. But you see, down the line, this immunity clause has been grossly abused by governors. Governors are stupendously corrupt today. Governors hiding under this cloud of immunity. You can't take a governor to court. That's the implication. A governor will spend 8 years in office. No matter how much funds he allocates to himself, you cannot sue a governor because of the immunity clause. That's why people now.
But the EFCC pursues them after that.
That is why the people are clamoring for
the EFCC still pursues them after that. So it's not
allow the governors to be prosecuted. You see, as it is now, because of immunity, governors are prosecuting other people, but they cannot be prosecuted. So there's not even fairness.
And
not fairness.
Well, first of all, immunity is not on criminal matters.
In some cases,
there's no immunity on criminal matters. So, it's only immunity is only on the issue of their performance in office.
Okay.
If you say because immunity is there, you allow a governor to just go corrupt and just amassing wealth, people listen to himself. Yeah. EFCC will come today and push up. Ghana must go under the table and back some money. Then the matter closes. Close that file. So allow governors to face charges of corruption while in office.
All right.
If they are found guilty, you either jail them while in office, or
all right,
or ask them to refund some certain money.
Anja, let me have your thoughts on this just in 1 minute.
I don't have any problem with governors having immunity. That's not our problem. That's not our problem at all. Our problem is good governance. Our problem is adhering to the Constitution. People want to be governor because this governor came and did like this. So what do you want to do for the people? Do you really have your people at heart? That is the issue. It's not about immunity.
All right.
We don't have any business with immunity. It's good governance. Come, deliver quality, good governance.
Very well. Now, Prof, in concluding, strengthening the integrity of our electoral institution, the empire, and even the political parties in 1 minute, what would be
they actually need greater independence. And I said it before, that the whole thing we're talking about this morning should have been an INEC matter. It should have started with INEC. And then even those who make close National Assembly can still consult INEC as a beginning. Is it possible to have elections in one day? Tell us what your problems are, and then what other problems do you have in trying to get elections conducted properly, and the people have a chance to elect their leaders, and the leaders can also hold them accountable at the next round of elections. These are the things we're talking about. Has anybody talked about how INEC can improve in terms of electronic voting? I remember when Jega was the chairman, and he went to the assembly and was talking about the use of the smart card reader. Somebody asked him, and the law says we should not have electronic voting. So this your smart card reader, doesn't it amount to electronic voting? That is how petty they can be, because they want anything, they're afraid of anything that will change the awkward positions they've had over time. And so INEC needs to greater independence. INEC needs more funding. Let ideas also come from INEC as to how the process can be improved upon.
Okay. Dr. Mutio, just 30 seconds of your parting words. We do not have time anymore.
Well, our democracy should be allowed to develop. There's nothing wrong in asking for all elections to be held on one day. Like the Prof said, we should equip INEC okay, to be able to do that truly independently. I think when that is done, we can have a semblance of good democracy for the benefit of Nigerians as a whole.
All right. Anja, the political chieftain.
We are capable of holding elections in one day.
Nigeria
is capable.
Very well.
So let us hold elections in one day. Let that bill pass. That's my prayer.
You didn't ask Anja how you can reconcile being a chieftain and his chairman said he's only a political administrator.
Anyway,
your chairman said he's only
his chairman has always insisted that he's a political administrator and not a chieftain. But maybe he accepted his chieftain. That would be a fine place for us to leave it on today's edition of Perspectives. I must appreciate Professor James Apam, former resident electoral commissioner for Kogi State. He is the former head of Department of Political Science at the Benue State University, Makudi. Revered political scientist. Thank you very much indeed, Prof, for your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Ben Ngutio, former minority leader in the 8th and the 9th Benue State House of Assembly, former chairman, Nigeria Union of Journalists. Kia Anja is the State Secretary of Labour Party in Benue State. Thank you very much indeed for your valuable insights.
Thank you for having me, Nathaniel.
Dear listener, that's our program today. Join us Wednesday for a fresh edition. I am Nathaniel Number. Have yourself a great week ahead, and we'll continue to monitor the development as it concerns this bill. If eventually it sees the light of the day, we'll be here to analyze it again. Goodbye.